in terms of immigrants committing less crime or immigrants contributing more than they take out of welfare programs. This is actually kind of misleading to make those claims, and I think if you actually look at the data, it might be the case, but is not really conclusive, actually. But I just want to be very clear. All of that is completely beside the point. That has nothing to do with how libertarians ought to feel about this. The only question that really matters is...
Dave Smith destroys this woke fool defending mass immigration into America with this single statement during this debate, as Dave Smith crushes this idiot, turning logic upside down with the truth about our immigration problem. And Dave Smith perfectly sums up this entire issue with this single line that shuts down the woke crazies. Let's get in.
People defend these immigration restrictions, and the enforcement system that supports them makes people sound like they're defending COVID regime in May of 2020 or the Iraq War in 2006. Give it up. Immigration restrictions must be statist, and they can be populist. They can be conservative, progressive, nationalistic, socialistic, or autocratic, but they cannot be libertarian. Ron Paul recently said, quote, President Trump announced earlier in his second term that foreign students who engaged in illegal activity would be deported. Most people agreed with this. But then his DHS began showing up with masks and plain clothes and arresting people. It's a slippery slope that will backfire on those who support it, unquote. Shortly after Ron Paul said that, Dave Smith said, I support mass deportations. Ron Paul is correct, Dave is wrong. They may want mass deportations without the atrocities, but communists say they want equality without the starvation and death camps too. In both cases, the trade-off is our liberty. Immigration restrictions break a lot of eggs. For a libertarian to support those violations of rights, the government's mass deportation regime had better be cooking up a pretty tasty libertarian omelet. Dave has not made any argument these rights violations and increased state power will do so. Even if you don't care about immigrants, whatever they do to immigrants, they're going to do to you eventually. The worst infringement on the liberties of Americans in our lifetime was the COVID lockdowns. Horrible tyranny, unspeakable and unimaginable that we lived through that in this country. Immigration restrictions, I just have a few more seconds, of the kind Dave defends are like a permanent global COVID lockdown, complete with a vaccine passport. Mass deportations and immigration restrictions require a domestic police state like the one we're seeing growing up around us. He desires the government deporting people who broke immigration restrictions, so he desires a tax-funded internal security state to do so. Dave can defend statist mass deportations if he wishes. He can defend permanent global COVID-style immigration lockdowns on peaceful and healthy people if he wants, but he cannot do so while claiming to represent libertarianism. Thank you.
Thank you. 5 minutes. 5 minutes of rebuttal from Dave. Take it away, Dave.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, listen, I'll be honest, I'm a little bit surprised with Alex's opening. I think if the resolution tonight was Trump's doing a great job with his immigration enforcement, that would have been a very powerful opening. I think if the resolution was, should libertarians support mass deportations, he would have at least started to make the argument there. But really just nothing is touching the resolution that we're actually here to argue, which is, the question really is, do we have to embrace an immigration system that would undoubtedly result in an orders of magnitude increase in the number of immigrants coming into this country against the wishes of almost all of the American people? That's really the question, and nothing that he said really touches my argument, so I'll be interested to see his rebuttal. I guess there's a few things that I should respond to. Number one, I will say, I think this is a bit goofy, the direction Alex went in terms of saying that, like, when the periods of large immigration, the government was being reduced, and during periods of slow immigration, therefore that's responsible for the things that followed. The truth is that the way, I'm pretty sure, because I've listened to some of his presentations on this topic, the way Alex is calculating whether the size of government grew or shrank is by government spending as a percentage of GDP, which no libertarian should ever use as a metric for how you rate how big or small the government is. It's on the level of, like, if I made $100,000 a year and I have one gun, that's my home security, is my gun. And then the next year I got a big raise and now I make $1 million a year. So I got 5 more guns. And then a friend of mine would go, hey, you sure got a lot more guns. And I'd go, actually, I have less guns as a percentage of GDP. But the point is you have more guns, right? So if you want to look at since 1965 and the immigration reforms, the size and scope of government has enormously grown. And I don't know if you've been looking around and haven't noticed it, but we haven't had a smaller government as we've been having more immigrants come into the country.
Dave Smith makes perfect sense that, yeah, that's a really stupid way to look at the government, because clearly we can see it is massively, massively larger than it has been ever in the past. Like, it's just insane. And the whole idea that this guy is going to say enforcing laws that are already on the books to deport illegal immigrants is going to lead to a police state. Like, these are laws that already existed that were not ever enforced the way that they were supposed to. It was lax rules by the Biden regime that allowed millions to come into our country. And even before that, this has been a long-standing problem for a very long time that exploded under them. And yeah, like Dave Smith said, we didn't consent to have our country invaded, either legally or illegally, by mass migration. We didn't consent to lose our identity as Americans. We didn't consent to any of this, right? So no, it's foolish that this guy wants to talk about it's going to infringe on people's rights, to immigrate. The rights of the other people who aren't here, the rights of other non-Americans. Like, he keeps making the argument almost either for like the other person and not actually Americans, while trying to demonize the people who are trying to get the criminals out of our country as being the Gestapo and the fascists that the woke left has constantly been trying to push in nonsense for years. It's like, no, they're just doing their job. That's all they're doing. But let me know down below if you agree with the mass deportations, and hit that like button and notification bell if you're enjoying the video. And if you want to help support the channel, check out the link in the description, and let's get back in.
In addition to that, I think that listen, if we have time to get into some of this, I'm happy to. I'm very skeptical about a lot of the claims that Alex makes, and we could get into the studies. I've read through them in terms of immigrants committing less crime, or immigrants contributing more than they take out of welfare programs. This is actually kind of misleading to make those claims, and I think if you actually look at the data, it might be the case, but is not really conclusive, actually. But I just want to be very clear. All of that is completely beside the point. That has nothing to do with how libertarians ought to feel about this. The only question that really matters is, do the American people have more of a claim over America than the rest of the world does? Because if that's true, then the question is this a voluntary transaction? So in other words, I do stand-up comedy. I tour on the road all the time. I go out about 2 weekends a month. Now, believe me, if it was up to my agent, I would be out every single day. He would have me at some strip mall every single weekend. I would work nonstop because he'll make more money if I do that. And the truth is, I'll make more money if I do that. But I got 2 little kids and a wife, and I kind of like spending time with them. So I limit now, if someone came and put a gun to my head and said, you got to get out on the road every single day, I would make more money. That would be better for my GDP. But it's not libertarian. The question is it a voluntary transaction or not? And in terms of whether, even if immigrants do commit less crime, which again, this is all based on the Texas homicide numbers, it's not very clear that this is the case. But if it's true that immigrants commit less crime, that still does not matter. Listen, Ann Coulter, who is not right about everything, but I did really like this example. She's the one who said, and I think she's right about this in her framework more than Alex is. Saying that immigrants commit fewer crime is kind of like if you had some food in your refrigerator and 50% of it was rotten. And then you went to the supermarket and you said, the food I got at the supermarket is only 20% rotten. Isn't that great? You'd be like, no. Because the expectation is the food that you're voluntarily bringing in is supposed to be 0% rotten. You're just bringing more rotten food in here. Even if illegal immigrants commit crime at a lower rate, that's still just more crime that we're inheriting. We already have to deal with the problems we have here. So the relevant question for libertarians is not what leads to economic growth or who has a higher or lower crime rate. The question is quite simple. Do the American people, we take in more immigrants than any other country in the world, legally. Do we have a right to cap it at any number?
And that right there is why Dave Smith is 100% right on this topic, because the American people absolutely have a right to choose who we allow into our country. And there is no shame in that. There is no shame, because if you're going to say you're going to shame the people, the Americans, who don't want immigrants into their country, then they never really had a right to choose to begin with. But we do have a right to choose because we are Americans. We are the citizens of this country. And every other country and their people have a right to say, who comes and who goes in their immigration policies. And so do we. And the woke left has attacked anybody on the right who wants to fight against this policy. They just want uncapped immigration to come in so they can get people to work for nothing for the globalists and all the billionaires. I mean, essentially is what it is. And they don't care about preserving any part of the American identity. In fact, they are trying to destroy it with mass migration. So this whole policy that the woke idiot was pushing is against the wishes of the American people. It's against our betterment. It's against our future. It's not aiding us. It's not a benefit to us. So we don't need to keep doing it, and nobody has a right to shame you if that's your opinion on the subject, because we are the Americans, we are the citizens of this country, and we have a right to choose, just like how we have a right to choose who comes into our own homes. It's the same exact argument. But thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you thought about what Dave Smith had to say, completely destroying this woke fool in this debate. Thanks again, like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.